You've been through a lot.
Yeah,
So the way you worded things was, I have been through a lifetime of trauma. That's quite a heavy statement to make.
yeah,
And it's like, wow, as well as the things that you noted about, breaking free from cultural norms and what your
hmm
family wished for you,
hmm
being separated from your family, then having a child when you were quite young, all of that before 17 is a lot.
yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, I don't even know where to begin, Shirin. Where do we even start? Because that is a lot.
Uh,
So, for you, what was your perspective at the time of going through all of these things? What was your mind frame? What was going on within? What was your main focuses? What was your
I think the main focus was always just, to survive and to just get
Yeah.
through the time. So I feel like, as you say, so much has happened. It's been like childhood trauma, adulthood trauma. I could literally split it into two stories. I could split it into four stories, but it's just been a case of, I think probably at the start with the childhood trauma, it's probably been a big case of probably not even realizing the trauma that I was going through, or,
Mm.
a lot of other people sugarcoating that and saying, oh, things are not that bad, yeah. And then I sort of just thought, right, this is normal. This is all normal. It's fine. Just get through it.
Everybody was sort of
Minimizing for a long
minimizing it.
time. For a
Mm.
long time, minimizing. I think it's only now, like in my 30s, I'm 34 now. So it's only been these past 4 years that I finally went, right, whoa, I've been able to make that statement to you and say, this has been a lot of trauma that I've been
Mm.
through, and most people haven't went through this. And I mean, people have been through trauma, of course, but to go through like sort of bullet after bullet after bullet, that's the way I describe it. And I wasn't, I was always hoping for a better adulthood, to have such a horrible childhood. And I thought, right, I'll have a better adulthood. But then it just seemed to be that I met all of the wrong people in my life. Um, and I just get really unfortunate with luck. I think with everything, just everything that could have happened. And
Mm.
again, I just had to deal with it. So that was my coping mechanism, was just to survive, stay strong, be strong for my daughter. I had my daughter when I was only 17, so I just, she kept me going a lot, just being a single parent to her, and I had no other choice but to be her everything, really. So she gave me a lot of strength. Um,
To focus
yeah,
on that, to have something to focus on, and because being a parent is such a heavy responsibility,
yeah.
isn't it? So I guess that having her when you were so young was just almost. Do you feel like? So you felt like what did that do for you, having
Having
her
her
so
so
young?
young, yeah, it was a shock. Obviously, it was a complete shock.
Mm.
It was. I think it happened because of the circumstances I was put in. I was put in a hostel at 16 by my family, so that goes back to the cultural sort of thing. And I used to think, actually, oh no, I'm one of these statistics for sort of
Mm.
being a teenage mum.
Mm.
Um, but I think it made me grow up a lot. Actually, I think it was the best
Mm.
thing that could have ever happened to me, because it made me realise, it was always about caring for someone else, and it was sort of like I couldn't think about my own issues and my own trauma and my own problems. It was just
Yeah, yeah.
survival mode all the time.
Yeah, something to focus on.
Yeah,
Really interesting few points that you've just made as well is one, you only realized all of the trauma at 34. That's
yeah,
the first thing.
yeah.
And you sort of felt like you wanted to have a better adulthood, but that didn't seem to be the case because you
Mhm.
kept meeting, these individuals. Do you fit so what's your perspective on that now? Are you in a relationship, or what's the sort of vibe around that now?
I am in a relationship, and
Mm.
actually, I've got to say, for the first time ever, I feel like I'm in a healthy, non-toxic relationship, which is fantastic. No relationship's ever perfect. I'm always the first
No.
to admit that. I'm always
Mhm.
quite real with everything.
Mm.
I don't like to portray and be somebody I'm not. I just think, right, yeah, we all have problems, and but from where I've been and the relationships I've had, it is miles different. So yeah, we've been together 5 years now, so it's good.
I
It's going.
love that because one thing that I wanted to sort of touch upon as well is I've had many of these conversations. I used to be in the beauty industry for 14 years, and I've spoken to so many different women, and we've both conversed back and forth
Yeah.
with different stories and things. And one thing that I noticed is sometimes we can have things that happen to us, and you use the words, I just felt like I was unlucky. So I kept on meeting these individuals, and it's just like, oh, I just, you almost just labeled it as just unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think is really valuable, or what can be really valuable, is to question. Because I don't think that there is such thing as unlucky. I really don't. I feel we have to dig a little bit deeper and ask the question. And from your story, Shirin, I can clearly see that the reasons why you might have been going for certain individuals is because of the trauma that you faced. It wasn't down to luck, if you see what I mean. It wasn't down to being unlucky, sorry. It was the outcome of what you've been through. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with
I
that. 1,000%. Yeah.
do you see what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that you were probably looking for all of the things that you didn't have, that you needed as a young adult. You didn't have all of those things. So you externalized that, and you found yourself connecting with men that were probably on the same trauma level as you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, because we can only attract what we are. So every time somebody comes to us, or we attract somebody, there's something in them that is in us.
Yeah.
So what I always seem to do is, myself and my journey is always look at, what about me is in this person? Because
Yeah.
there's going to be something there. So have you ever heard of trauma bonding? Quite a common,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's quite a common thing that's thrown around. And I do understand the concept of trauma bonding is that two people can connect that are on the same trauma level or the emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sometimes we can look at things and think, oh God, this has happened again, or that's happened again.
Mm.
But sometimes stopping and questioning, why is this happening again? Because it shouldn't. We're not put on this earth to suffer. We're not put on this earth to suffer. We're not put on this earth to, attract, I don't like to say low vibrational.
Yeah.
Everybody's vibrating at different levels, aren't they? So when somebody does come in of a certain vibration, we have to ask ourselves, what is in me that's matching that vibration? And sometimes it isn't always a match. Sometimes you can be vibrating high, and the lower vibration can be like, oh, I want to be up there.
Yeah.
I want to get on that vibration. So sometimes it's for that vibration to discern what's going on there,
Yeah.
and say, well, mm-mm, no, I'm vibrating here now. I've healed now.
Yeah.
I've figured out my stuff now, and this no longer is a vibrational match to where I'm at. So therefore, you know, peace be with you, but we have to go separate ways, sort of thing. And I
That's it.
always, yeah, and I always think that that is a really good way to question. I don't think we question things enough. And I'm not saying that you haven't over the time. I'm sure you've probably had loads of reflection time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, because I don't think that you're unlucky. I don't think that you're unlucky. I don't think that you're not. In fact, let me change that. It's not a think. You're not unlucky. I just think that you probably haven't questioned why.
I was just going to say that to you. I think absolutely you're on the button there. I think I just, at the time, I've done a lot of reflection now,
Mm,
as I've said, and I kind of realise my values more. I think because I've grown up so quickly as a mother at 17, I just had to, that was it. I just had to sort of, you
crack
know,
on.
go and keep going. And you don't really ask yourself these questions that you get to ask yourself when you don't have children, I suppose, or you don't get to do that work on yourself that that sort of meaningful, ask yourself questions like,
Mm.
what am I
What?
doing in
Yeah,
life? What do I want?
yeah,
It was always about what does my daughter want?
yeah, yeah. You haven't even had time to think about these things. You haven't even had time to question, actually, what is this about? You haven't, you've had a child to raise. You've been dealing with your stuff. You've been trying to just go, 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 go. And there's been no stop.
Yeah,
There's been no pause. There's been no reflect. You probably reflected, but you've reflected while still cracking on.
yeah,
Sometimes
absolutely.
you have to
Yeah,
have that space and you have to, completely boom, separate and just boom, complete silence mode and just go within. And sometimes that isn't easy when you're on a busy schedule. You've got bills, you know, you've got bills. And um, when you've got responsibilities like that, when is there time? Do you feel like you've got time to do that and question things now? Is that something that's in your sort of, is that something that you're thinking about more of? Or do you
yeah,
feel like,
absolutely. Absolutely,
mm,
Martina. What's happened is I suppose I hit rock bottom, and that's what
mm,
made me have the time to think. I had a
mm,
mental breakdown, so
mm,
I've never had that before, and I didn't even, I suppose, realise it was happening. It was just starting to feel really burnt out, really tired, and just,
mm,
it was as though that survival mode I always had, like being able to be superwoman and do 1,000 things at once, it just stopped. I was starting to find things really difficult, like even just doing my hair, brushing my teeth. I mean, you wouldn't think that now, but
yeah,
just it was so difficult to do anything. And I
mm,
think that's when you have the time to think, when you're
yeah,
at that total rock bottom
just boom, yeah,
and you just self reflect on everything.
mm,
And I think you're right. I think I've probably been a bit of a mum to like most of my relationships. That was probably kind of what attracted people to me, is that whole I didn't think I was a great mum, but actually I had that complete maternal sort of
yeah, yeah,
vibe, that I gave off.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think people just liked that and drew to that.
Do you do anything sort of what do you do for a living? What's your work consist of?
Um, so I've done a couple of things. I'm actually a qualified careers advisor.
Yeah,
But I've got an acting degree. So I do a bit of acting. That's obviously more of a kind of hobby sort of thing. But of course I would hope to get somewhere with that in a career. So there's that in the background. But my plan B was to become a careers advisor. But I struggled to get a job because you need experience, and obviously when you don't have experience, so that was sort of the thing that was going to bring financial stability, bring me that life that I was always dreaming of, and no more struggling, and just this stability for me and my daughter. And it didn't quite work out that way, so that's sort of what then caused like my mental breakdown and stuff. But I've had various jobs. I've done quite a lot of different things in the past, like admin, sales, customer service. I worked for the Department of Work and Pensions.
yeah,
So
yeah.
lots of
DWP.
varied
Mm-hmm.
people things, very people-y sort of
Mm,
things, because I like chatting to people and
mm,
that sort of thing. So
mm.
yeah, I've probably done a lot, but I'm still probably trying to work out now the next move, something a bit stress-free that, you know, might not be this big sort of flashy dream that I want, but it might just be something that just keeps me going.
Absolutely. What age were you when you had that breakdown of, okay, this is what I want to do. Okay, the job isn't going, I can't get that because they want experience. What age did you feel what age did that breakdown happen?
So actually that breakdown only happened a year ago. So I've took a lot of
Okay.
time over this past year just to completely, it's been very up and down, but I
Mm.
do definitely feel like I'm well on the road to recovery from where I was.
Yeah,
I think you can see that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was a completely different person a year ago.
Hmm.
Um, I am still, yeah. I mean, obviously, every day you still have your struggles and things like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, as I say, it's very much probably still trying to work things out. But I know that whatever I do, I'm going to be true to myself now. I think that's the thing,
Yeah.
is I don't need to make anyone else happy. I don't need to try and, I think sometimes I used to feel like I had to be in a competition with my siblings that I didn't grow up
Mm,
with, and I had
mm,
to prove that, because they had big sort of like businesses or like sort of qualified careers, and I had to be like them to show that I matched up to them.
mm.
Um, but now I've realised I don't need to do anything like that. I just,
mm,
I've done enough in my life. I've raised a child,
yeah.
and I've got through a hell of a lot, and it's just I just need to do what makes me happy, really. So yeah.
Absolute facts, Shirin. Are you close with your siblings? Because I know obviously you separated from them. You were isolated from them when you were younger, put in a
Yeah.
hostel. So the four siblings were what? How did your parents view them differently to you?
Well, I tell you what happened. So they actually grew up with my father, and I grew up with my
Okay.
mother. So my mother had schizophrenia, and I was the
Mhm,
youngest child. So I think it was decided somehow through the legal systems that I was to stay with my mum when my mum and dad split up, sort of thing.
mhm,
So my older siblings grew up together, and I grew up separately. So that was a big divide. And then when I was 15, so
mhm,
not long before I had my daughter, I realised that, I wanted to go and find them. I felt quite alone. I was
mhm.
starting to rebel. I was actually became a carer for my gran. So that was one of the traumatic experiences I had to go through as a child. And it was a decision someone else, I suppose, put on me. So
Mm,
I just wanted some freedom, I guess, in my life. I was searching for something more. I was searching
mm,
for love and, again, stability. But then I went there. I used to live in England, actually, and then I came to Scotland, and I
mm.
met my siblings and my dad, and it didn't really work out the way that I'd thought. There was a
Right.
lot of they're not culturally strict.
Okay.
My Indian culture was a lot more strict in England with my gran and my mum and like my mum's family. But
Hmm.
the problem was my dad was still strict to a certain point. Like he wouldn't
Mm,
let me go out with friends. So
mm,
I was looking for that sort of social life and sort of different life, and I wasn't getting any of that. And
mm,
it was still very much, girls like me and my sister had to do housework and all that sort of thing. So it was very
mm,
he was laid back with some things, but
mm,
the kind of pivotal things for me that I needed,
mm,
he wasn't
mm,
laid back in. So um I think it's just the fact that I never grew up with my siblings and my father, and they just didn't really maybe get me, because
They
whereas,
didn't understand you. They didn't
yeah,
understand you.
they
And
just
you
got me
had,
wrong all the time. Just got
they
me wrong.
just did they?
Yeah,
Mm,
it was just like, always like as though maybe thinking bad of me, and
mm,
I was just sort of, I suppose I didn't know how to express at that point that, I just want some freedom here, and I don't like the way that I'm living here. I sort of got what might be confusing for you there. Sorry, I should have explained. Is I
mm.
had an ultimatum that I had to go and live with my dad and my
Oh,
siblings if that was what I wanted, was to see them. So it was like a choice
wow.
out of
It
my
was
hands.
you
Yeah, it was like,
literally had,
yeah.
wow. Okay.
And then it never worked out, and I wasn't happy, and I missed my mum, and there was also all these things. And my sister, actually, so my dad's remarried, and I had half sisters, and
Mm,
they were sort of like, there's been a big theme of people bullying me in my life, so they took a sort of bullying role all against me. You're not our sister, all this sort of stuff. So it was, yeah, again, it was just like, I don't belong here.
that's quite a lot. That's a lot to deal with, Shirin.
Yeah.
You had an ultimatum. So you were faced with either go over here or not. You were faced with that ultimatum. And then when it didn't work out because it wasn't what you intended, you didn't actually have any more freedom than you did back at home with mom. Probably more freedom with mom rather than over there,
I would
if you
say
like.
so. Actually, yeah, yeah.
And and then what happens when you come back to mom?
Well, so my dad actually drove me back to England, it was Southampton, so it was a very long drive. It was about 9 hours. He decided to drive me, and this was
Wow.
the only reason for this was because I decided to stay at a friend's house, and he just completely sort of lost it and was like, "No, I'm driving you back. That's it." So it's not even like I really did anything that terrible. I think to myself now,
Mm,
if that was my daughter, you wouldn't be giving up on her like that.
mm,
Um, so that was fine. So he did that, and I was probably quite happy at the time. But I think there was just always this feeling of I'm not happy again. Even when I got back to
mm,
my gran and my mum, it was just like, I'm just having to look after my gran. I never kind of got what like all my cousins used to come round and they used to get all these social privileges to go out to the cinema and the fun fair and do this and do that, go to the park. And it was always expected of me just to stay in. So I always just wanted more in my life, you know, and I knew there was like more in me and more things that I wanted to do. And I just wanted to explore the world and do things, you know, I didn't want to be stuck in a house.
Freedom.
Freedom, that's it. That's all I wanted. All I wanted, so simple, freedom. So then I got another ultimatum, would you believe it? So this was from my mum's brother, my uncle, and he said, if you want freedom, you'll have to move back to Glasgow, where my dad lives. So that's where I am now. And he said, you'll have to go into like a sort of young person's homeless hostel, and you will get your own flat and you'll get to have the life that you want. You can go and go to university, go to college, do whatever you want. You know, you'll have all the freedom there. And that was like a really hard decision. I mean, I was sort of like, what do you do? You know, at 15, you're not sure what to do with that. You want to take the freedom, but and I was excited at the time. I was like, yeah, this is great. This is a great idea. Yeah, I get to do what I want. And finally, you know, that's my happy ending. But then, yeah, as I got older, I felt very deserted, I suppose, abandoned.
Because you wanted freedom, but you wanted freedom with support.
Yeah.
You wanted freedom, but you wanted the support of a parent or parents. You wanted your parents to be supportive for your freedom, and you'd still be able to, but you're always given these choices, these ultimatums, like you can't have that. If you have freedom, you don't get us. Basically, is what they said to you. You can have all the freedom, but you don't get the, you know, the parents. You don't get the brothers. You don't get you don't get anything, and that is traumatizing. At 15 years old. Wow.
Yeah. But I think I was 16 when I went into the hostels. Yeah, so just as I was turning 16, and then that's sort of the whole story around, I suppose, how I became pregnant, and you know, I'd probably seek that support that you're saying I needed from men, you know, and that was that was a big.
You had the freedom, but there was no emotional support from you. You had nobody to depend on. You had no family to depend on. Nobody to depend on emotionally, which is the key part. It's like, yeah, you can have freedom, but freedom really requires support as well. Like if you're raising a child, you have to be a support network for that child, but allow them to do whatever they want to do. And you're there as a comfort blanket, as a cushion to always just be there for them. That's it. Yeah. So you are what you've just identified there. Yeah, you were looking for that support in and of course, you know, sometimes it doesn't always end up the way you wish, because some people, especially 15, people will take advantage of that if it's not the right person. They could definitely see that and think, well, you know, the right person would embrace that and support you and see. But so you attracted different types. Oh, gosh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what from those points, so you were in a hostel at that point. What was it like at 15 living in a hostel by yourself? When did that moment click for you where you were like, okay, I feel abandoned now? Was it straight away, or was it?
I think it probably did take a bit of time. I think at first it was all a bit of excitement, you know, because it was so much of stuff I hadn't had at all. You know, I hadn't got to go out and see friends or see people. So it was like, it was sort of, I mean, well, the problem was that I had financial restraints to do all those sort of things, but I was surrounded by all these people, I suppose, but I wasn't very streetwise. I was very vulnerable. The people in these hostels are very, very quite clued up and streetwise, and I did feel different straight away. I felt different to them, and I think I did enjoy it. I think at first it was just fun, you know. It was like, what is happening here? I feel like I'm in a film or a drama or EastEnders, you know, because it's just crazy. Like, completely different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Completely different. And, you know, I'm getting to do whatever I want, like even small details like going back to school and I'm getting to wear a skirt rather than trousers. You know, it was all of these little things that just were like for me amazing. I thought, this is
Mm,
amazing. So I
yeah.
did enjoy it for a long time. I think probably the moment I really felt abandoned was when I had my daughter, as soon as I had my
Mm,
daughter. So that was probably only like a year or two in. So when I had my daughter, that's when it hit home that, you know, you're alone now and really nobody's helping you or sort of there for you in this situation. They're all quite ashamed of you. And it was sort of them that put you in this situation.
mm.
So,
Did they
you know,
offer any support when they knew that they were now going to be grandparents? Was there any support there at all, or was it didn't want anything to do with you when you were at the hostel? Was it like, don't call us, don't message us? Was there any contact?
it was really more radio silence.
Right.
My uncle did phone me. My mum's brother, I was quite close to him. He was a bit of a father figure, but
Mm.
he sort of said him and his family. It was actually him and his wife that looked after me for a while when my mum was put in hospital. She was sectioned when I was younger. So she obviously, I understand the whole situation with my mum. Like she
Mm.
mentally can't be there for me. She's never been
Yeah.
able to be that mum, and I completely
Mhm.
understand that, and I get that now, having my own mental health struggles.
Mm.
But yeah, my dad, it was always like nothing really from him. Even when my brother told him, I was in contact with my brother, and he
Mm.
told him, Shirin's having a baby, she's in hospital, and she's going to have the baby, and he didn't even come to see me, nothing. So I don't know what was going through his head. He's not really been involved with me and my daughter at all, maybe like once or
Mm.
twice, but I mean, that's in like 17 years, so
It's a long time.
it's
That's a long
ridiculous.
time, and I feel probably your mom is your mom still still sectioned or
No, she's got her own flat now, and
oh brilliant.
she actually lives with one of my brothers. It was
Hmm.
actually like I sort of reunited them, I suppose,
Oh.
because they'd lived with my dad.
Hmm.
So I sort of like took that upon myself as I got older to sort of get them, them knowing my mum and stuff. So yeah, no, she's fine just now, and I go to see her and stuff. So I do have a relationship with her,
Oh
but obviously it's more of that role where I probably feel like a mother, that kind of
yeah, yeah. It's you're probably mothering your mother, and
yeah.
I suppose that she would have been on her own journey, especially splitting from your dad would have been a catalyst of the mental illness as
Oh,
well.
definitely, yeah.
Like that has really got to have knocked her mental, and then to come out of it and then have her own flat now, and your brother's living with her. So now she's obviously balanced out a little bit more, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because everybody's on their own journey, and then you've got two people. So you've got yourself, which is struggling. Now you're having to parent your parent,
Mm,
looking after your gran, wanting freedom. Your mom's having to deal with a breakup. Your gran can't look after herself. There's so much going on.
so much.
There's so many things, and you're in the middle of that, a young kid, not being able to be a kid, not being able to just do what kids do, go and play with your friends, go and stay over this weekend, have fun, like your cousins were having. They always used to go on day trips and this, and that. So I can definitely understand where that motherly internal has just always been a reoccurring theme for you. So what would be nice now is if Shirin could sit back and enjoy and tap into that youth again, tap into that fun side and just let go. Because you'll never stop being, because you've got your daughter now, you're never going to stop being a mother or a parent. But do you have you time? Do you have time to go, you know what? I can just relax and sit back. Have you found that comfort yet? Is it there, or is it something that you're still working out?
um, she still probably very much needs me because she's in the
Of
teenage,
course.
sort of age. But so there's always sort of some sort of dilemma now. It's like different dilemma, less physical things and more like sort of she needs,
Mm.
like conversations and to talk through things and stuff. But yeah, I do. I suppose yeah, I do get times of rest, and I'm trying to make more time for that as my daughter has got older now. Now I'm a bit more like, you know, I'm happier to say to people, look, I need a rest,
Mm.
or I'm not being selfish here. I just need some time for myself. And I know that doesn't mean that you don't care about people or that you don't love other people. You just need your own time so that you can recharge. So I definitely feel more confident to say that to people with
Yeah,
any.
because sometimes we forget, and this is it's a really imperative thing because your daughter, she's 17, and I'm
Yeah.
sure, going through what you've been through, you're going to be looking at her and thinking, I don't want you to go through a scrap of what I went through. So I'm guessing, like, how does what you've been through reflect how you parent now? Because she's on her own journey as well. So she might be thinking, Mom, I'm all right. I'm all right today. Like, how does that reflect your parenting on what you've been through?
Um, I think she says I'm a little bit overprotective at times, but I feel that I've probably went through a stage with her where I could have been more protective, like when she was younger and I was still pretty much a child myself, I suppose, even though I was in my early 20s, but you were still, because I hadn't had that childhood, I still felt a bit like a child still growing up and growing up with her.
Of course.
So she calls me a bit overprotective. She's like, you're a bit overprotective sometimes, mum, just let me sort of do what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I do that now. I sort of I'm starting to let her. But I think the main thing that I've learned is to say to her these words, that no matter what you do, whether it be right or wrong in your life, whatever mistakes you make, I will be there for you, come rain or
Yeah.
shine.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like what you do, I'm going to be there. I'm always
Right.
going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah. And just knowing that, think about how you would have thought about that, Shirin, if your parents had said that to you.
amazing.
Think about just that one sentence. They wouldn't have really had to micromanage your life. If they'd have just said that one sentence to you, how that would have impacted you and your actions. You would have just been like, just knowing that I can live. And I just think that, yeah, she knows that. She knows that you will always be there for her, no matter what. And because you have got your own life as well. And sometimes we forget these things. I haven't got children at the moment, but I do find myself always wanting to help people. And I've learned to help myself is the first thing. So, in first and foremost, it's help myself, number one, and then help other people. Helping other people always comes second. Have you heard that saying when they say you can't help anybody? You got to put your mask on first before, on the planes. Put your
Yeah,
mask on first before you help the person next to you,
yeah.
rather
I've
than going, "Oh my god, I'm going to save this person next." You got to put your gas mask on first before you help anybody else. So you can only be of the highest benefit to your daughter if you're good. And I know that it's going to be difficult for you to step away. I don't think it's going to be difficult for you, but I can understand how that would be going through what you've been through to step away. And obviously, you speak about protecting because of things that happened when she was a child and things like that. You were a child raising a child, understandably, Shirin. You weren't, you didn't have the tools to navigate what that should look like or would look like at that time. It's all about having tools. If you haven't got the tools, what are you supposed to do? You can
yeah,
only do the best you can with what you've got. You can't do any more than that. If I haven't got a hammer and four nails, this frame is not going up. I can't
exactly.
put the frame up.
And I think that's
So,
the issue, really, Martina, is that a lot of people have just thought bad of me, and they
mm,
haven't realised that maybe, I have just made a mistake.
mm,
They've ultimately just thought the worst thing straight away. Or even when I was trying to figure myself out and there was things that I didn't really know about myself. There was a massive thing that I had realised, and I think it was like a memory I'd blocked. That I had an episode of like child abuse when I was younger, and that explains
mm,
so much for me, so
mm,
much. Why I was a shy child, and maybe I could have
mm,
spoke up more when I was younger, and then I might not have been in this. I mean, well, it was obviously upon the adults, I suppose, in that situation to not put me in those situations, like caring for my gran and stuff like that. But maybe had those things, when I was in my mum's care, when she wasn't able to look after me, not happen, I may have had that more self confidence and been able to sort of be a child that spoke out more. But I didn't understand myself for so many years. I was just like, why am I like this? Why am I so shy? Why am I letting everyone walk all over me?
Mm, mm,
And it was that, like what you're saying, for a long time. It was always about just focus on everyone else, look after
mm,
them, care for
mm,
them, and
mm,
just forget about yourself. And I used to worry
mm,
so much about what everyone thought,
mm,
and so it did really get to me, like they all really hate me, or they're not helping
mm,
me, and or
mm,
they must be really thinking really terrible of me.
mm.
Um, so it's having that like voice of self belief and that compassion for yourself and saying these things happen for a reason. Everything's happened due to something
It-
else.
Something, yeah, there's always, and people shouldn't be so quick to judge anybody. So the people that
That's all
were
it was.
surrounding, yeah, the people that were surrounding you at the time and people that were making judgments on you weren't right in doing so, because then that had a knock-on effect of you not wanting to speak up at all about any issues. Number one, you not being able to be your authentic self out of constantly feeling like you're doing something wrong, or you're not doing this right, or you know how you had no support. So there was a lot of judgment on you when you were younger, which then obviously is going to affect your adult life. Of course, that is. You can only do with what you have. If you haven't got the tools and resources, it's for the older people to give you those tools and resources. They would have had a not a responsibility, but they could have given you those tools, but instead they chose to just automatically judge and make those judgments. Now I do see, obviously you've had to figure that out yourself, and I do think there's beauty in that as well. Sometimes when you have to figure things out yourself, there is power in that.
Mm,
There's power that this wasn't, even though support is always going to be a great thing from everybody and it's what we all need. But sometimes when you figure it out yourself, there's power there.
mm,
There's real power there. Like, you are very powerful, Shirin, because of everything that you've overcome. Extremely powerful, because I'm sure you've had your certain people in certain places that have been of great benefit to you getting to the next levels.
oh,
Or make,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
but you were the action of it all. You steered that ship and you used the support at the time to go forward.
Mm,
There's power in that. You can stand on your own 2 feet and get through all of there's so much power. And I hope you know that as well. And if you don't, I'm here to tell you there's so much power that you have from all of these trials and tribulations. I see these as yes, traumatic experiences, but the beauty on the other end. At 34 years old, you're now at a position where you can sit back and now start to question and really put the pieces together, really make use of all of your experiences, really make use of the power that you've carried through. You're doing your biography.
yeah.
Brilliant. Sharing your story, getting that out there. You're doing so much and you're acting. Obviously, that's going to be a form of expression for you.
Yeah.
Your daughter's growing up. She is the example of your work. She's going to grow. She's going to be on her own journey as well. She's going to want to do this and want to do that and do all of these things. But you are there to support her. You can be what you wanted and needed for her. So it's really powerful that your experiences, because sometimes we are, and this is how my perspective is on traumatic events as well. If you get through them, because some people don't. That's why I
Yeah.
said, Shirin, hats off to you. So courageous, especially escaping those cultural norms of what you were in. Your family had a certain expectation of you and they wanted you to go down a certain route. And you said no. That is very, very difficult for a lot to do. The entrapment and that bondage of, I'm going to lose my family. I'm going to lose everything if I step out of what they don't, of what they want me to do. That is huge. And I would always encourage people to always take the path of most authenticity if that's what they feel like they should do. However, it doesn't always mean that number one, they're going to be safe. Number two, what are they going to do? If you've got no family around you, what are you going to do? Have you got money to support yourself? Then it goes on to you end up meeting um people with bad intentions that take advantage. It opens up a can of worms, and you're setting the kid up to fail, as far as I'm concerned, when you have these expectations. And if you don't, then this happens as a consequence. It's really rough stuff. So I have to just commend you, and I hope that anybody listening to this can really take something from Shirin's story and really understand that there is so much value in living a life of authenticity, and you can overcome it if you have the strength. Because you probably didn't realize it at the time, Shirin, you had to have a ridiculous amount of strength to do that.
I actually look back and I think, how did I do that? How how did I do that? I'm not sure if I could do that again just now, but probably I could. But it's just, I think I was young. I had so much energy at that time as well, to resilience, and yeah, it was that it was sort of like, I'm not letting anyone tell me what to do. If it really didn't sit right with me, I was like, no, I don't want this Indian wedding, and I don't want 5 kids and to be married to somebody, I might not even see until the wedding day. No, 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 no. And, I knew there was risks with having, a child and being a single mother, and, but and my uncle would actually, that was another ultimatum, have an abortion. And I said, and I didn't do it. And I'm so, it's the best decision, best decision I ever made, that I didn't do that. And you just think, who are people to take control of your life like that? It's not their lives what they think is right. It's just not. And it has been lonely, but yeah, I don't regret the path I took.
Oh, fabulous. I absolutely love what you've just said there. You don't regret the path you took. If that isn't an empowering statement after everything that we've just spoke about,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what is, because it would be very easy for someone to say, oh, gosh, you don't even want to change the course of it. You would have hoped that things would have been different, but for the fact that you don't regret it, wow, that's empowering, Shirin. How did you, if when you look back now, how do you think that you did it? How do you think that you were just so, what was keeping you going?
Hope, hope. I had hope that something better would always come along, whether it, I suppose maybe I still had that childlike version of me that, never got to be a child. And she was always shouting somewhere within me, going, you will get your fairy tale. You will prove people wrong. But it was more about making myself happy as well. It was like, you
Yeah.
will. And it was always like, no wasn't an option. Like, maybe I'm not going down this road, that's fine, but you'll be going down
Mm-hmm.
another road. So it was just, I refused to give up at that point, I think. And probably I did have some good people that came in and out of my life. And that always did help, maybe to have that, even that one word of encouragement that perhaps I needed from my family. I got it from a friend, or somebody who fleetingly came into my life, or that you've just met in work or something. Someone, there was always a sort of source somewhere that would
Yeah. Those
somehow provide
messengers.
you a
Yeah.
message. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Those messengers on the journey,
yeah,
God speaks through everything and everyone. And I would encourage anybody, like I've said before, to always live the most authentic version of yourself. You're not going to please everybody. There's going to be a lot of people that aren't happy with the decisions that you make, but nobody's life is yours. You don't belong to any. Nobody owns you. Nobody. You don't. We don't belong to anybody. We've all got the freedom to do exactly what we want to do. It's as simple
exactly.
as that.
We've all got different paths. Nobody's
Yeah.
walked in your shoes, and that's what I tell myself now. I just think I don't care about whoever thinks what of me. And, I think a lot of people still have the wrong idea of me today. I do. I think a
Mm.
lot of people, my own family included, still probably think very unfortunately about me. But, there's so many good things and you just have to cling on to the positives, like my relationship, my daughter, the fact I'm healthy, there's so many things to be grateful for, and that I did get through my breakdown. That's like you say, so many people,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't make that journey. And yeah, that's what's inspired me now. Probably moving forward, I've got like ideas to sort of like, put more I suppose, let's talk about raw real things rather than, everything's always like trying to be quite fake, and, people covering up their problems in their life. And it's like, let's actually talk about these things. Let's talk about mental health struggles. Let's talk about real things, real struggles. And that's obviously why I wanted to be a part of the show here with you,
Mm.
because, that's an opportunity for me just to be able to highlight these things that people often
Mm.
like sort of just paint over, I suppose. And
Mm. There's so much that people can relate to by hearing somebody else's story, but also the challenges that you've faced and how you've overcome them. When you actually meet challenges now, how do you approach them after going through all of that? Going through the period of, okay, my family still think this of me. My family still think that. There is loads of great things. How do you navigate challenges now? What is your perspective of that mentally? Like, how do you compute that?
So I think I just have to say it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of me, I'm past that now. We all make mistakes. That was probably the biggie for me for a long time, was that as though a mistake is a terrible thing. Terrible, and I just used to think, well, no, not always, because everyone makes mistakes, and now I've realised that, and that's huge information for me and knowledge that we all make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. But people made me feel bad for making mistakes, so I just have to forget about it. Really, it's been a sort of just. I think maybe I tried for a while to sort of half have them in my life, or sort of
Mm,
maybe have them show up like once a year if they wanted to, for
mm,
my daughter, but not for me. But then I just thought,
mhm.
no, I need to completely cut that off for my own health.
Yeah.
And that's where I took my power back, and I went, no. Um, and now I just deal with challenges and I say, you've been through a lot worse. You've been through it all. And I haven't even spoke about some of the things,
Mm,
because I feel like I could be here all day. But, there's been probably, you name it, and I could say, yeah, I've been through that. And
mm,
you just think, well, you got through it, so you'll get through something else.
mm.
And
You
whatever
definitely,
it is, you have to.
yeah. You could literally, we could be here all day. I think that we could do an 8 hour podcast and you could literally go through so much. I'm guessing, why you're doing a biography, because there are so many chapters. We're just overviewing, really, aren't we? There's
Yeah,
so many things that you could possibly speak about, but I've only got a small snapshot of that,
yeah,
which is obviously what we're discussing. So, but I'm sure you've got loads more that's everything in between.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just your perspective and you navigating challenges now are an acceptance of, this is just what it is. I've accepted the fact that they're going to be like that, and that is it. Because that's sometimes what we have to do, is just accept that some things, some people will never change, no matter how much we want them to, no matter how much we'd like things to be like this and we'd like things to be like that. Sometimes it's just, that's what it is. And rather than change them, when we change ourselves, they end up changing, because they just know. If we start to default and go back down to, if you went back down to that sort of people pleasing level and was like, oh, come on, mom or dad, or, trying to, then there would never be any progression. There is more power from where you're standing. Absolutely. There's more chance of change happening that way rather than you going back into old patterns.
yeah, definitely. And
Wow.
I do feel in a good position now, not long off till my daughter's 18. And those
Mm,
people that, were saying, you shouldn't have your daughter, or you've made a big mistake. And now I
Mm.
can say, well, I've done it. I brought her up. I've done it with a lot of challenges, but I've done it myself. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not you said one really valuable point was, as well as loads of other things, but about everybody makes mistakes. Yeah, that's what life's about. Nobody, if you're living, you are not free from sin. You are not free from mistakes. And I don't like to use that word sin, but that's what people throw the word around. If you are still breathing, you're not done.
yeah,
There's more to learn. Unless you've crossed over deceased and you're up there, you're not free from. Nobody can talk to me, Shirin, and look me in the eyes and judge because you're still breathing. That means that you're not done. It's impossible. So when anybody wants to say, "Oh, everybody makes mistakes," everybody does. Get back off your pedestal. Oh, there's nothing worse, Shirin. I can't stand it. Everybody makes mistakes. That's what it is. And when anybody tries to sit on the pedestal or preach this or preach that, hey, the life has a funny way of humbling us all. So I'm so glad that you are that you just like, you know what? Everybody makes mistakes, this and that, and you are not special or free from that. Neither are they. No judgment should be made on anybody. We all judge ourselves when it's all said and done anyway. There's
that's
no,
what I was going to say to you.
you
That
know.
the biggest judgment that I've passed has been on myself, and
Yeah.
that's the biggest battle that other people haven't seen. And I just think I
Mm,
wish you seen that, because actually
mm,
all these judgments that everyone around me cast on me, they could, that could have been the end for me, and that's the horrible thing to say, and that would have been devastating for my daughter.
mm,
Um, but I'm just so glad to be like, right, I I didn't let those words seep into
mm,
me so badly that they destroyed me. So yeah, and now you're just like, I don't judge other people like that. I mean, I'm
mm,
not perfect, and we all do things, and like I just said, we make mistakes, but I wouldn't outrightly go out my way to cast judgment like I have had to put on myself, and
mm,
persecute others. So that's the
mm,
difference, that I thought I have to
mm,
stay true to myself, stay
mm.
as kind as you can be, and
Because you
just
would
let
have
them
been,
do what they're doing. That's
yeah,
it.
because you would have been judging yourself, and that is a harsh place to be in when you're beating yourself up about things, and then you've got the outside world reinforcing your own thoughts because it came from them, or the judgment came from them and the judgment came from the outside world. Then you're thinking, well, what is going on? It's not matching. It must be right. You're starting to connect dots that are not dots,
Yeah.
that have been fabricated, and that these ideas have been put to you as real, as things that you should believe, as things that are fact, when in fact it was all rubbish. We can all be our most harshest critic. And it's just nice if somebody, even strangers, when they pass us in the street and they say, "Oh, you're having a nice day." Yeah, just be kind to one another. If you can, pass on a kind statement, pass on anything. It helps.
It definitely does. Yeah, that's it. And that's what we need, more kindness in the world. And hopefully I can portray that through my play when I do that as well, my story. And,
Tell me
people.
more about that. Sure.
Yeah, so
What you
that's I've started writing it. I've been working with a place called the Playwright Studio in Scotland, so they mentor you. So I've just come to the end of that mentoring program with them. So I'm sort of there was no pressure to sort of have a full play, written. It was just sort of that they sort of guide you and help you sort of through that. But I suppose my task was very difficult because it wasn't like fiction; it was like non-fiction, and it was such a big
Mhm.
story. Um, so I'm still sort of, I would say, in the midst of that process, but I have made a good start. So that's the main
Mhm.
thing. And I've learned so much from just, getting that opportunity, I suppose, and somebody like believing in me. It was somebody just,
Mhm.
basically believing in me was the thing that made me
Yeah.
think, yeah, great, somebody that believes in me and wants to support me here. So that's great. So at least always got that support there now if I need them.
Oh, that is fantastic. So are they helping you write it, or they helping you sort of lay it out, organize it how it should be?
Yeah, the mentor, I mean, it's obviously it's your own words, it's your own play. I think they just sort of give you maybe like inspire you and you just it's somebody to chat with
I
about
love
it, I
that.
suppose. Um it was like an hour session you'd get within like 6 months, like one session a month and stuff. So that was good, yeah, and that's really, really boosted my confidence, like that I've got a good story to tell that people are going to want to hear. Um, that was half the battle, you know. Now
Yeah,
the other battle's just getting the rest of it out. But
yeah.
yeah,
There's beauty in expressing your story and doing it in the form that you are as well. It's going to be so great for you to get that out off your system and put it into a visual format. That's really exciting. Are you going to get different actors and actresses and or are
that's
you going to
the
play in it? You're going to play it, yeah?
I was going
You
to play it, yeah.
yeah.
But this is the what I'm torn. I'm a little bit torn about this actually. Do you,
Mm,
you know, do I get other actors to play other people and characters?
mm.
Would that take a bit of pressure off just me? Um, but I don't know. But then I think there's something quite beautiful about me or being on the stage myself and just playing these different versions of me. Um,
Yeah, because you can somebody that can play you better than you.
like you, yeah, exactly. So, maybe I'm a bit panicky. Like I don't know if I'm going to be able to direct somebody to do it just the way that I need it done. But even there's people that could play like my mum, my dad, my grand, you know, all these people in my life. So there's lots of scope there. I think I'm still deciding that, to be honest. What's the best thing?
Imagine though, I'm just throwing thoughts out here, Shirin. All right. So ignore me. Take no notice of what I'm about to say. All right. Tell me that I'm talking waffle. But I think what just come to mind was what would be interesting is you obviously at your age, you playing you at your age, but the different ages in getting somebody else to play you, but you play you at your age. And the reason, because I think I agree with you. There's nobody that can play you better than you. But when I watch really crazy example, I watched Wolf off Wall Street.
Yeah,
Jordan Jordan Belf Jordan Belford was in the movie at the end, and he played. He didn't play himself. Leo was playing him, but they both, and I really liked it because I think that it gave Leo played Jordan really well. So I think that first off, it would be about finding someone that could really, and you'll find somebody and you'll be like, you captured that perfectly.
yeah. I'll connect with. I'll just
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll be like, oh, perfect. But I feel like you could probably be more creative with doing it in time periods. Like from 0 to 15, from 15 to 21, from 21 to 28, from 28 to 34. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something I've thought about. Funnily
Is
enough,
it?
yeah, I have
Oh,
thought about that.
wow.
So many ideas, so that and I love that idea. I love that idea. So that's really nice to hear that you think that would be interesting.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, no,
yeah, I think that'd be so cool because it is because like you said, your story's so big and we've only briefed over it, and you've got so many different things to express. So doing it in like a 4-part series would be so impactful because people would be like, oh my gosh, Shirin's story. Do you want to go back to see what happened when she was 15 to 24? Let's
yeah.
go.
Oh yeah, they'll
Part
definitely
two.
come
Oh my
back.
gosh. And then they'll be like, okay, what happened from 24 to 24 to 28? Right, should we go back? You're really keeping everybody on their edge because they're like, what's going to happen? And then you come in at the end, Shirin, 34. Oh, I can see it now. I can literally see it now. And you play you at 34. That would be powerful because people would be like, oh my God, that's her.
That would be great, actually. Yeah,
Oh my
right.
God,
Yeah,
that's Shirin. Rather than you doing it all through, because the audience would want to see who is Shirin. And then Shirin comes out at the end, 34, with your daughter almost. And they could be like, oh my God, that's her daughter. You know what I mean? If you wanted to get her involved, I don't know. But like I feel like it would just really personalize that experience. I mean, look, I'm a creative thinker, so I'll just come out with wild, you know. But I
No,
think
I love
these,
that. I love
do
it.
you?
Like, yeah,
Okay,
I
yeah,
do. I
yeah.
genuinely love that idea. I think that actually could take a lot of pressure off me because I've been like, how do I do this? This is like so
Oh,
much.
right, I see. Mm,
Um, I actually do love that there's something very fun about me directing it in that way and
mm,
very healing, I suppose, of me
yeah,
seeing other people and if I get the right people involved and seeing them act it. And then
mm.
it's like a catharsis for me as well, that sort of emotional healing of actually seeing my story on stage. And then, like you say, at the end, I come in and I'm like, well, this is what I've learned. This is me now.
I'm getting shivers because that would be so powerful. I would come and watch. I
You
would come and
have
watch.
to.
I would come and watch. I'd be like, oh my God. And then you come out on stage and everyone's like, oh my God, Shirin. That's Shirin. Oh my goodness. And you're right. I think it'd be really healing for you. I think it'd be really healing for you to let other people express your story. That does takes a lot of pressure off you.
Yeah.
And and because now you're at 34, you're strong enough to be 34. It makes perfect sense that you would come out at 34 rather than in the younger years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, what
That's
a great
a
oh,
happy idea.
100%. I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait until you do this. Like, I think it'll be so beautiful. And it's going to be in Scotland, is it? Or Glasgow?
um, who knows? I could tour with it maybe.
Yeah, you could definitely tour. You could definitely tour. Oh, I do hope you really get into it, Shirin. I do really hope you get into it and really, dig your teeth in because this could be really, really powerful. Because it's like it's art, isn't it? Really, it's
Yeah.
art. It's an artistic expression of your life, and there's beauty in that. And I could see it in the theater and people on stage, and then everyone's in the beautiful. And do you want to do it in? So would it be a theater production?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, Shirin. Right up my street. Right up my street. Shirin, I'm excited.
I just love all that. I love like ways of telling the story, but
Mm,
maybe like through movement or through even having certain pieces of music
mm,
and it would just like people just I just want people to feel how I felt, I suppose, as well in
yeah.
those moments too. Because I could sit here and I could explain it to you all day, but I
Mm,
suppose until it's see it, when you see it, that's when
mm.
you'll really feel what I felt at the time. Like,
And you're really going to be able to do, like you said, it's beautiful that you're able to direct it because you're going to direct it so perfectly that every single thing is going to be incorporated in that piece. The music, what happens there, dude, you know what I mean? The slight little things. You're so observant that you'll be able to just be like, okay, that needs to be like this. No, 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 don't do that.
yeah.
This music has got to go on. Have fun. Have fun. I'm excited for you, Shirin. If you could give anybody out there one piece of advice, doesn't matter what it is, could be anything, what would that one piece of advice be?
This is something that rings true to me. It might not ring true for everyone, but do not let them destroy you.
Oh, I like it.
Do not let them destroy you. That's going to be a very big theme of the play
Mm,
and just in my life going forward from now on.
mm.
That is the thing I would remember and I would advise other people that have been through challenges or feel judged, or all the things I've spoke about. So, yeah, do not let them destroy you.
Brilliant, brilliant piece of advice, brilliant message. Someone out there needed to hear that. Someone out there needed to hear. Do not let them destroy you. We all need to hear that as a collective message.
Mm-hmm.
Do not let them destroy you. Stand strong, stand firm, and know the power within. Boom, mic drop,
Yeah.
Shirin. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me, Shirin. It's been a pleasure having you. And I
You're
do
very welcome. It's been an
wish you all the
absolute
best.
pleasure speaking to you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.